Hello, hello. Hey, ladies. Glad to have you here. Tonight is a fun, light chat. Nothing too major. We get to have fun and talk about competition weekend. I'm just going to pull up the Facebook here. Make sure folks have the link. Hope y'all are having a great Monday so far. Great start to your week. Let me pull up the chat. No worries. You can listen in. You can use the chat if you want to type any questions or comments, or you can just unmute yourself if you have anything you want to share. You may hear a little something in the background because my man needs to eat. I just got home from restocking the whole kitchen after we got back. Everyone. Okay, you all found the link, so that gives me confidence that others will find the link. Okay, great. Awesome. We'll pull up comments because I know I had some questions in the group. Make sure that I cover everything that everybody asked. Okay. All these windows open, excuse me. All right, I think I have some more in the waiting room. All right, now we're having a party. I'll try to keep my eye on those in the waiting room. Cool, okay, so I had some questions in the comments. Hello, everyone, by the way. It's your girl, Natalie. Hey, Tim. I was wondering who iPhone was. Glad to have you all here. Feel free at any time. If you have any questions, feel free to interrupt me. I'm just going to ramble. I'm going to talk about the things that people have asked about, things I think you all would be interested in hearing about. And feel free to dive in and ask any questions or make any comments in the chat box or unmute yourself and ask freely. This is just going to be a fun girls chat all about WBFF in particular and competition show prep, meaning like that last little bit before the show, what are all the things that I had to think about and how the actual show ran, how the show went. Of course, the outcome, which you probably may have heard on my social medias by now. But Marie has a fantastic question. This is definitely something I want to address tonight. She says, what are you most looking forward to post-show, post-prep? Are you more motivated for your next? No. Are you more motivated for your next show or less motivated? Oh man, I can answer that. Matter of fact, I'll go ahead and dive right in because that's a good question. I am most excited about this post-show reverse diet. I have never, I've worked with coaches after shows before, but I have never done a purposeful reverse diet after a show, immediately after a show. And I have not done a purposeful lean gains type of protocol, meaning purposely staying lean and building just the lean tissue that I need to build for where we're trying to go, which I will also talk about where we're going and the plans and all of that moving forward. But I was almost, I don't want to say more excited, maybe equally as excited about the show itself and this postseason or off season. You know, I hate to use the term off season because that's really where most of the work is done, is in the off season. Y'all do me a favor too. If you hear any background noise and you can't hear me, let me know because I don't know how my volume is sounding. If it's bad, then I will put my headphones in. But I love to talk without the headphones. So thank you, Tiffany. Hopefully it's all good for everybody. I will just try to talk over it or talk a little louder if that's the case. Okay, so yeah, this season I was super, super excited about the post show because in past preps, you all who know me, who followed me, who've watched my story, know that I have struggled with binges and restriction and binge and purge and things of that nature in the past. So almost always after a show, I would have a period of like, whatever I want to do, anything goes. Effits, right? A case of the effits, and I just kind of get into like the I don't care that much. I end up putting back on. I won't say too much weight. Like I've never gotten like overweight to the point where I really needed to drop a lot of body fat, but 15 to 20 pounds above stage weight is an uncomfortable amount to have to lose for a show. So doing that bulking and cutting is actually very taxing on your body. You've heard me talk about bulks and cuts before, and it's really better if you can be in a maintenance phase and then go into a mini cut when you need to get super conditioned for something like a show or a shoot or something. And ever since I got my pro card, and even in the prep leading up to getting my pro card, my dream has always been to live as a fitness model, live my life that way. Not show lean, not like I could step on stage tomorrow because that's pretty unrealistic, although my mind may be changing on that a little bit because I'm going to share with you all about this carnivore prep and how it was different. And Bronson's over there doing a happy dance, hearing me say that. But I say that because I feel really comfortable where I am, more comfortable than I've ever felt this lean before. I say this lean, but I've never been this lean before, but I feel so comfortable here that I feel like my body loves it here. It's happy here. I'm not suffering. I'm not struggling. I will definitely talk more about that because this show was so chill. Like I don't even know another way to explain it other than just it felt really comfortable. So my goal and my dream has always been to be able to stay nice and lean and not too far off from a show, not 15, 20 pounds to go, because for that to come off, and you've heard me talk about sustainable cutting and sustainable weight loss, fat loss, that's a slow process. We're talking at best a pound a week. And if you're lean, it's probably going to be less than that. It's going to be like half a pound a week. On average, you're going to have some weeks you're not going to lose, and some weeks where you're going to lose maybe 1 or 2 pounds. But for the most part, it's like maybe half a pound a week. So we're talking, if you're thinking 15 to 20 pounds, that's easily 20 weeks or more. 24 weeks is half a year, y'all. That's 6 months of work. I don't want to have to do that to get to stage in the future. So where I'm at right now is crazy. Somebody in the comments asked about what do I think about my progress from past shows? Great, yes. So progress from past shows. That was Andrea. Oh, and to answer Marie's other question, I am more motivated than ever, not just for my next show, but like life in general and just living this way. And being lean and honestly modeling too. I'll tell you a little bit about that and how that made this show so differently for me, so different for me. But I'm extremely motivated for my next show, and also to finally really put myself out there, make submissions to magazines for publication, to do some petite modeling, to look for agencies, to really like to put myself out there as a model. That's probably the biggest impact this show had on me that has been different from any other show. So, and I'll tell you about that because I got to do an incredible magazine shoot for Fit and Firm magazine, which will be published. I will have a published spread. It'll be my first ever published magazine appearance. And so that experience alone changed the game. Like, I could have walked away from this show after that experience and just been happy without ever getting on stage. I felt so comfortable in front of the camera with the photographer, with the looks that we created. Y'all don't even know. Like, I'm not allowed to leak any of those images because they're specific for that publication. But Bronson was there and he can tell you. He walked in and he like lost his mind. So it's going to be incredible. I'm so thrilled with the way that came out. So progress from past shows. This was huge, y'all. I've been comparing my physique to my last best physique, which was not my last show. My last show in Miami in 2020 was my pro debut. It was my first time on a pro stage, but it was not my best physique. The year prior, in 2019, I got my pro card, and that was my absolute best physique. It was the last time I was almost as lean as I am now, and I'll tell you all the stats and how the stats are different and how different it looks on my body. But 2020 was when I was in the midst of bulimia, in the midst of my relapse. And so my body was highly inflamed. It was binging and purging on a very regular basis. And it wasn't until about 4 weeks before the show that I decided 100% to do that show and started dialing things in, and still had some binges and purges along the way. It wasn't until 2 weeks out that I 100% cut all that crap out. And then the last 10 days was like a sprint into that show. So I lost a lot of weight in a very short period of time. I lost muscle along with it because it wasn't a healthy way to do it. It was a lot of water weight, inflammation, and lean tissue that I lost in that prep. This is another reason why I say I've been there, and I do not want anyone to do these extreme measures to get weight off your body, because it's not worth it. You will end up paying the price and spending a lot more time trying to heal your body and get your body back to a healthy place. So building the muscle, dropping the body fat slowly and sustainably is the way to go. And that's what I was able to do this prep. So I took, as you know, as many of you know, a whole year off, 2021, just to recover mentally, emotionally, physically. Worked with a naturopathic doctor. We did supplementation protocols, really, really clean. Started with going back gluten-free, started going back keto. Then I went carnivore in January. So although I wasn't 100% carnivore this year, mostly, we'll say 90, 95% carnivore all year. So everything was really clean for the most part, what I was putting in my body. I was training consistently. And the biggest difference between this prep and all of my past preps is that my protein has never been higher. This year, my protein was higher than ever. We started me really high fat because Coach Bronson and I started out together, working together before I hired my coach. So the first couple months, 2 or 3 months, I was just doing 1-to-1 protein to fat, and my fats were high, and my hormones were happy, and we'd taken the time to heal my body. I went through really a good bit of transition during that time too, with my gut health and everything. And we got things rolling, and I was lifting super heavy. And then I started with my coach. We really started cutting, but I kept things in a really comfortable place for a really long time. My macros were the same. 150 protein and 80 fat for most of the prep. And then carbs stayed low at like 15 grams total because I was carnivore. So we did that. We did a nice, strong bodybuilding split. I did a 5-day split this entire prep. Different body parts. He changed the training a little bit. So different body parts on different days, but it was, upper lower split. I did legs 3 days a week and I did upper body 3 days a week. No, 2 days a week. Split differently. So like I'd have a day where it was legs and arms, or I had a day that's legs and chest. So it was kind of like mixed up. And then some ab work, some calf work, and cardio. Now, the other thing that changed this prep is that I did more cardio than I've done in the past. But we didn't just throw it all in at the beginning. We started with a little bit, we added a little bit more, we added a little bit more toward the end. And things didn't get low, like fat didn't get low, calories didn't get low, and cardio didn't get high until the very end. It was right in the last couple of weeks where we started really dropping the fats. I was progressing well, and then when I wasn't progressing well, we drop again. And a few months out, we started doing refeeds. So when my fats did get lower, first we dropped them down to 70, then we dropped them down to 60, and it wasn't until the very, very end that I was at 50 grams of fat for maybe 10 days. I think maybe 10 days at the very end. And I would do refeeds about every 10 days. For the last probably 2 or 3 months, we did that. Yeah, maybe 3 months we did that. So at the end of this prep, compared to my last best prep, because my 2020 prep, heads and shoulders, we've been past that for months now. Like I surpassed where I was in 2020 a while back. But we were comparing to 2019, which was my best ever. My body fat percentage and body fat mass are lower than they were that year. My total weight is higher. So I came into this show we were sitting right around 111, 110.9 pounds on the scale. For reference, I am barely 5 feet tall. So please don't compare yourself to these numbers. But I came in, I was sitting right around 110.9, 111 the last few days leading up to the show. And I was hanging out there for like maybe a couple of weeks. And then it wasn't until I'm pulling up the history here on InBody. The other cool thing this prep is that I had an InBody at home system that made it really easy to continue to track body composition regularly, which was really cool. So yeah, that whole last week, 111, 110.9. And then it was Saturday morning, the morning of the show, I woke up at 108.9, and it was the lowest I'd been weight-wise. In 2019, when I got on stage, I was 105. But my body fat percentage was 14.6 on Saturday. And in 2019, it was 17.9%, I believe. So we're talking like 18% body fat. So, a good 4% difference on my body fat percentage. My body fat mass was right at 15.9. So I only had 16 pounds of body fat on my body when we stepped on stage. The funny thing is, the next morning, Sunday morning, I woke up. Sunday? Yeah, Sunday morning I woke up at 109. So I was like 109.1. I was like 0.2 pounds up. Skeletal muscle maintained. Body fat mass was the same, just about. Percentage was about the same. The other beautiful thing is that my skeletal muscle mass at the beginning of this prep, at the beginning of the year, I was sitting around 153 pounds of skeletal muscle mass. 152, 153. At the end, I was sitting at not 150, excuse me. Skeletal muscle mass in pounds at the beginning of prep was 52 to 53 pounds. At the very end, 51 to 52 pounds. So we're talking, I didn't even lose a whole pound, maybe 1 pound of skeletal muscle mass in this entire. I started prep in February. So we're talking, 10 months. I lost maybe 1 pound of skeletal muscle mass the entire time. I started out at 120 something, maybe around 120 pounds. And I landed at around what did I say, 110, 108 on show day. Yeah, 109. So, y'all, that's like 10 pounds all year long in 10 months. Like, this was a super slow, super sustainable, controlled prep cut. It was nothing insane. I would have months where I would be down a couple pounds and then go back up, you know, no big deal. I didn't let this was a huge thing where this prep, I didn't let my brain, my mind get the best of me. We went on the low carb cruise. Okay, I went up a few pounds, right? We went to KetoCon. I went up a couple pounds. We went to, every time we had a trip, we had a lot of trips. April, Salt Lake, Keto Salt Lake. You know, every time we went to those and I ate keto treats or whatever, okay, my weight would go up. No big deal. It's water weight. You know, it's going to come back off. Came back off. We keep it rolling. The key being sustainability, not obsessing over any little thing. And then really dialing it in at the end. I didn't like being low fat. I don't like, you know, starving. I wouldn't say I was starving. I was hungry, but I was not starving, really uncomfortable, really irritable. Sometimes I got irritable. He can tell you I did. It wasn't like all rainbows and butterflies, but compared to past preps, it was a million times better, mentally, emotionally, physically. I just got blood work a couple weeks ago, right when we were about 2 weeks out. I've gotten the blood work back, but I'm waiting to have an appointment with my naturopath to get his interpretation of the blood work. I want to hear what he has to say. You know, at first glance, everything seems fine. So I'll be curious to see what he has to say, but I'm thrilled I did that. And I'm waiting to get a couple more pieces like cortisol, which is a really important number piece of blood work to get, particularly after something like this. So I'll probably do that maybe next week, and then I'll get my appointment with him, and that'll be something else I can share with y'all about the health side of things, because that was the whole key with this prep. The plan was to do this in a healthier way. So in terms of like where my physique got to for this show, better than ever. More muscle on my body, less body fat on my body. That is the ultimate goal of every bodybuilder. Come in leaner, tighter, with more mass. And that's what we did. Okay, so let's see. There was a question about, yes, Tiffany asked, what is the process like and what do they judge on? Also, I see women who have super big muscles and then other ladies who look lean who are not huge. How do you know which one to enter? And cost. Okay. So I figured this would be a good opportunity to talk about WBFF in particular, the category, the division that I competed in, what we needed to do to get my body right for that particular category, and then the outcome of the show and what I believe my response is going to be, because we are going to ask for feedback from the judges for this show, which is also something I'm really excited about as well, that I haven't done in past shows, mainly because my pro debut is the one where I would have wanted to get the feedback. I mean, my pro card, I won first and I got my pro card. That was all the feedback I needed. But when I did my pro debut, I did not ask for feedback because I was not working with a WBFF coach. And they really want you to go through your coach to get the feedback. They don't want like every single competitor emailing them individually. So also I knew I didn't come in conditioned for that show. So I already kind of knew what I needed to work on. So personally, my personal goal for this show, and this ties back to another question Andrea asked, what was your personal highlight? How do you think you did and what do you think you have to improve on? So I'll tie all this in with answering Tiffany's question about the categories and all that. So my personal goal going into this show and at the beginning of this prep and when I hired my coach, and one of the reasons why I love my coach and really decided to work with him is because I needed somebody who was down for me and my goals individually, not specifically for a show. And he said, from day one, it's about Natalie, it's about your goals for your physique, and your health and your mental health. I shared with him about my past, and that the ultimate goal with this show was to make it to stage without relapsing, feeling better about myself mentally, physically, emotionally than ever. And that's exactly what we did. And it was also my goal to improve my physique, meaning put on more mass, lose more body fat, come in more conditioned than I've ever been before, and work toward my ultimate goal, which is to compete in fitness, which is a different division than what I competed in this show. So that brings us to divisions, categories, judging criteria, all that good stuff. Okay, so WBFF in particular stands for World Beauty, Fitness, and Fashion, or Fashion and Fitness. It is different than your standard bodybuilding competition in that it is like a beauty pageant meets a model runway meets a fitness competition or bodybuilding competition. You are not going on stage and hitting like these super, what do you call those? Like strict poses. You're not hitting mandatory poses like you would in bodybuilding. You're not stiff on stage. You're moving like a model. You will see, I'll be sharing, I'll share my stage video, of course. I got some backstage stuff. The designer of my bikini just asked me for a video of my posing routine, which I sent to her and she just shared on Instagram. So I'll be able to share that with you all and you'll see the difference. Like we're moving like a model, taking over the runway. And so in that regard, it's a little bit different from your standard bodybuilding competition. The divisions are a little different. In a typical bodybuilding show, you have bikini, wellness, figure, physique, and bodybuilding, 5 categories for women. For WBFF, we have bikini, wellness, fitness, figure, 4 categories. So we don't have physique and we don't have bodybuilding. We don't have like really large, overly large striated muscle categories. Figure in WBFF, I guess would be similar to figure in like the standard bodybuilding IFBB kind of categories. It's definitely the largest muscle wise. It is the leanest, largest and leanest. So when I say lean, I don't mean small. I mean low body fat. So this is like where you're going to see the striated muscles, the bigger, fuller muscles, but are very, very lean and tight. You're going to see all of those lines, striations. Marie, you have to drop off. So happy. This is a great idea. Positive experience for you. You are motivation. Thank you, Marie. Thanks for being here. So that's the biggest one in WBFF. Eventually, I want to get there. I want to get to figure. I'm so enthralled by the women with the larger muscles. Like that is the body I want. My ultimate goal is to look like an action figure walking around on a regular basis. So I love the figure girls. Fitness in WBFF is kind of unlike any category in the typical bodybuilding federations. It is lean, it is more muscular, but it is not as big as figure. But it is definitely leaner and more muscular than bikini and wellness. Bikini and wellness are similar in some regards and different in others. Bikini in WBFF is typically a more softer look, more marketable look, more commercial look than what you're going to see on a bodybuilding stage in bikini. Bodybuilding stage bikini is very lean. To me, dangerously lean in some of these federations like the IFBB, just very, very small, very lean. They have more muscle. They have a good bit of muscle mass, but they just look tiny. WBFF really likes a model look, so they want it to be marketable. They love a little bit more meat on your bones, a little softer, a little more feminine, somebody that they could put in magazines, to feature as not even a fitness model, so to speak, but a fashion model. So that's what we see a lot of. I will say that the category that I competed in was wellness, and I'll explain that in a moment. But for wellness and bikini, it's anybody's show. It's anybody's game. You really kind of have no idea who might get crowned at a show because they're not necessarily looking for one specific body type. Whereas in a bodybuilding show, You have to fit exactly what they're looking for the body type. And you could be standing up next to 5 girls that look exactly like you. And they're going to look at every single flaw and try to find, based on the physique, who's going to win. For WBFF, the score is much more than just your body. It is all about your presentation on stage, your personality, the way you show up, this like charisma, this marketability. They want to see the whole package. They're looking for a star. It's much more than just physique. So yes, you want to be dialed in. You want to have a competitive physique, but you also need to bring competitive personality, style, everything from the way your bikini is styled and designed for you and how it fits you and how you're able to work it and rock it and work the stage and command the attention of the audience and the judges. So that being said, I got my pro card in bikini. There was no wellness back then. And I was smaller back then. If you see my pictures, and I'll show some comparisons of 2019 to now, I was tiny. So I've put on a lot of muscle mass since then. I actually looked at the numbers and it was like 14 pounds of muscle mass from 2019 to now. So to say that like I came into stage 3 or 4 pounds heavier on the scale than I did in 2019, that includes 14 pounds more muscle mass. So when you think about it like that with the body fat, like just much more conditioned. But okay, so for wellness in particular, they are looking for a larger bottom half. It's all about the legs and the thighs, the legs and the butt really is what makes a wellness model versus bikini or fitness. It's not as conditioned as fitness or figure. It's not as large as fitness or figure. Larger in the bottom half, though. A lot of the time, you'll see wellness girls will be larger in the bottom half than your fitness girls. Figure is going to be larger all over. Fitness is going to be leaner all over, but smaller lower half. So I'm a wellness girl through and through. I'm all legs. But we had to come in fuller. So when I woke up on show day, I was 2 pounds down from the day before. And it looked considerably different on my body. Not to mention what's crazy is I met with my bikini designer the day before the show, Friday afternoon, and my bikini needed to be taken in on the bottom. There was a gap in the back of my bikini bottoms. And the straps, she needed to take the straps in. So I'd actually lost some mass in my glutes, which is not what we want. So personally, one of my personal goals is to build more muscle in the glutes so that when I drop that much body fat, I don't get pancake butt. I was feeling like I had pancake butt. Even the day of the show, like before we got on stage, I was in the back doing squats. Like one of my girls was back there working the back stage area, and she looked at me dead in the eye and she starts squatting. And I started squatting with her. I was like, okay, I hear you. Like, we got to get the booty pump. So I was doing all this stuff backstage just to get this last minute booty pump. And it happened. It happened. I think I had it on stage. At least I could see it in the mirror and in my last couple practices of my posing. But wellness, they usually like, and particularly WBFF wellness, they like fullness, meaning they want to see thicker, like a thicker girl in wellness on the bottom, not terribly tight like fitness, but full. I'll share the top 3. I don't remember. I don't know the girl. This is the craziness of the event. We're going on stage. I didn't know how many people were going to be in my category because I only knew of a couple of other pros that were competing at this show, but there were quite a few crossovers. You can do a crossover in more than one division. So if you're not sure what the judges are going to want or where they're going to think that you fit, you could do bikini and do wellness, or bikini and fitness, or wellness and fitness, or You could do all the categories if you wanted to. If you're like, I have no idea where I stand, let's just see what they think. You can enter all of them if you want. So there was a bunch of girls that crossed over from Bikini, and I didn't know who they were. So we're like lining up. I'm trying to count. I'm like, I don't even know how many people are in my category. And then we're going out on stage. You can't see anybody else. Like, I don't know what anybody else did, what they really looked like. I just went out on stage and I was in my zone and it was all about me. I did my thing. I knew a couple of the girls. I knew the girl who was going to get the crown. Like, I kind of knew, we all kind of knew she was going to get the crown. She'd been really close. She'd been getting second place in wellness and in bikini, placing top 3. She kind of straddles the line on the two. But she came in thicker and fuller for this show. So she was really playing up to that wellness crown. And, you know, she'd been, I think this was like her 3rd show this year. Yeah, I think she did 3 pro shows this year. So it was like, it was like, this is going to happen. She's going to get that crown. I would have loved to have gotten 2nd or 3rd. I really wanted that top 3, but I was like, hey, top 5, I'm damn happy with it. And I don't know yet if I'm like 4th or 5th. They announced top 5 and then they announced the top 3. So if you're 4th or 5th, you have to wait and get the judges' feedback to find out where you actually placed, how the scores looked, what their feedback was, what they think you should improve on, and whatnot. Okay, so getting to that piece, I believe, at least I hope, that the feedback is that I was too conditioned for wellness, and that either they're going to tell me that I need to fill out or not be as conditioned, be a little softer, and stay in wellness, or that I should move to fitness. And I can tell you right now, if they tell me that they want me in wellness and they want me to not come in as lean, I'm not staying in wellness because I love how I came in at the very end. And what's crazy is even this morning, I woke up even leaner. I'm going to do a post sometime this week of like the days after the show, but it's insane to me. I woke up this morning and looked in the mirror and I looked like a fitness competitor. And that has always been my dream. I want to do fitness. So I think that I came in a little too conditioned, a little too lean for what they wanted for wellness, and I'm happy with that. So I'm hoping that that is my feedback, but I will definitely update you once I do get the judges' feedback, what they have to say. I will say that the girl that won the crown and then the 3rd place winners were both very soft, larger, thicker, soft girls. And I don't know who got 2nd, and I don't know what she looked like because I couldn't even really see her from where I was. So I'm gonna have to actually do a little research to figure out who that was, and I can do a little of my own kind of assessment. But that is what I think. And even the other girl in the top 5 was a little softer as well. So I really think that that's what is going to be the feedback. And I'm totally fine with that. I kind of wanted to hear that. Like, my goal was to hear them say that I should do fitness. In WBFF, they have the main categories that I talked about: bikini, wellness, fitness, and figure. And then within those categories, within those divisions, you can do age categories. So they have open, and then they have 35 plus, and then they have 40 plus. In wellness, they only have open because there's not enough wellness competitors yet. It was a brand new category in 2020. So we didn't even really have many pros that year. So the pro division for wellness is still pretty small. So they don't have age categories for wellness, but for bikini and fitness, they also don't have it for figure because figure is still pretty small. But for bikini and fitness, they have a 35 and up, and they have a 40 and up. I turned 40 in February. So before the start of the season, I will be 40. So my goal is to compete in both the 35 plus and the 40 plus fitness in 2023. And depending on the feedback from the judges and the input from my coach about how much we need to build, how much time we need to get this done, I would like to either compete in the opener, the season opener, which will be in April in Orlando, or the next pro show after that, which in the last couple of years has been Bahamas. But what I've heard is that they're moving their headquarters to Florida, and that they're looking at moving the Bahamas show to somewhere in the US. It could be in California. The first show of the season used to always be in Long Beach in April. And that ever since the pandemic, it's never gone back. So I'm thinking that they may be looking at doing that, trying to go back there. And then that second show has been in May, but I don't know if they would do it at a different time. So usually there's an April show and a December show, and those are the opener and the closer, the US Pro shows. Worlds is in August in Vegas, and then there's one more, and it's been in Bahamas in May, but I don't know what's going to happen this year. I also heard that they're trying to add more shows. So my goal is either April or May, June, whenever they decide to do that second show. One of those two shows will be my next show. My real goal, and my coach is with me on this 100%, is to do a proper reverse. We've already started. Today was day one of my reverse diet. To do a proper reverse diet and a gaining protocol that is not a bulk. So staying lean, slowly building the calories back up and cutting the cardio down, and building through this season. So my goal is to put on as much more muscle mass as I can so I can come in and be competitive in the fitness division. Coach is with me. We'll see what the judges have to say about that. So I already talked a little bit about what they judge on. A lot of marketability, a lot of stage presence goes into the WBFF piece. There is, for bikini and wellness, there is a gown round. So the second round is an evening gown. So it's very much like a beauty pageant. They want to see that feminine side, that regal, energy. That's a lot of fun because that's not something I've ever done. I've never been a pageant girl. I had a lot of fun with it this time and I really enjoyed it, but I really want to wear theme wear. And fitness and figure girls get to do theme wear. They don't do evening gown, they do theme wear. My whole look and persona, if you saw my bikini, was like a hard rocker chick kind of vibe. I wanted to play off of the new style with the hair and like just really lean into that edginess. So I had my bikini designed specifically for that. It was real edgy, and I would have gone even edgier with the hair and makeup, hair in particular, but I had to tone it down because I knew I was going to be doing the gown round. But what I want to do is I have another bikini that I've had for years that hasn't fit my body right. Started to fit a little bit better this year. That is similar in regards to some of the style of the one that I did wear. My goal is for that to fit me perfectly for fitness next year, and to use that as my bikini for fitness, and to use this bikini again, but build onto it and create a theme wear with it and make this my second round bikini. So you guys get the inside scoop because I haven't told anybody that yet, except my bikini designer and Bronson, and probably my coach. I think I told my coach. So that's the goal there. Let's see, what do I think I need to improve on? It's going to depend. If they want to see me in wellness again, they want me soft. Sorry, not happening. What I want to work on is just building everywhere so that I can fit really well into fitness. If they say you're definitely wellness, we just want to see you softer, then that means I need to build my upper body because I need to prove to them that I'm not wellness, I'm fitness, but I'm going to need more proportion. So, but I will tell you, I have an idol who has been my idol for two idols now, really, but it's Hattie Boydell and Stephanie Ayala McHugh, both multiple time world champion fitness. Hattie made her return to the stage in the US at this show. I actually got to meet her, got to take a picture with her. Like, she's tiny like me, super short. I think she's like 5'2". And her physique is insane. Like, it's exactly, that's what I want. I want her, and then Stephanie Ayala, also short, built similar to me, but like stacked. So I'm looking at them like that is the kind of physique I want to build. I still want to build my legs even more, but also build my upper body to match that and just look like an action figure. That's the main goal. Okay, so let's see other things about, okay, so the process. Let's just talk about the show and like how the whole thing runs. This is what's so unique about WBFF. It is an entertainment spectacular. It's like an extravaganza. It's a whole week long of things. And this used to be the way Worlds was run, but the regional pro shows, the opener and the closer, used to always just be a registration night and then a show day. Registration night being gowns, gowns or just very fancy attire, black tie kind of attire. But you can go kind of costumey too. You can have a lot of fun with it as long as it's like a fashion forward kind of idea. I always like to go a little more avant-garde because I'm short and I don't want to be swallowed up by gowns. So I love to do shorter pieces and have fun with the fashion. And I really did it this time. So I can't wait to show you more. If you saw my stories, then you saw some of registration night. But I absolutely loved the look that I created for registration night. I really stepped into my fashionista in a new way this year. I've always kind of pinched my pennies and went into it with like a budget mindset. But this time I was like, screw it. I didn't like what I had in my closet. I went shopping on Black Friday weekend and I just like went crazy with like creating things that felt like me. And I will say Andrea asked about what was my highlight. What I'm happiest about walking away from this weekend is that I wanted to make a splash. I wanted to make my name known. I wanted to have people recognize me, be memorable. And y'all, the best compliment I could have ever gotten was registration night. I walked up to Stephanie Ayala and Alicia Gowans. The two of them are both world champions. Stephanie, 5-time fitness world champion. Alicia Gowans, like 3-time fitness world champion. And she just made her return from Australia after having a baby and being out of this for 3 years and breaking her back before she had the baby. So like insane that she was there. But the two of them, I walked up to them and Stephanie said to me, "Oh my God, wow. Like you look incredible. You nailed the look. I remember you." And I was just like, that's like the best compliment I could have ever gotten. Like for her to remember me was huge. And I said, you know what? I don't want you to remember the old girl. I want you to remember this one. And she loved it. And I took a picture with both of them because I was like, I need to manifest my crown. And then Dennis Cruz, who is the lead photographer for the WBFF, he recognized me and he was like, "I love the new look." And I mean, I just got a lot of great compliments on the new look, the new style, the way I was presenting myself. Allison Dillette, who's the VP of the WBFF, did my styling for the Fit and Firm magazine shoot. We had a lot of lengthy conversations. I got to chat with her quite a bit over the weekend. She gave me some great advice. It was just, that to me was the highlight. The highlight was I have been recognized. I have been seen. I am on the scene. They know who I am. I'm making a splash. Like that's what I wanted, was like, now you know who I am. Now you got to watch out for me because I'm coming for that crown next. So we did that. We did what we came to do. Yes, Tina, of course, there will be a replay. Always, always, always. Do you have to have a pro card to compete? And do you coach for this kind of thing as well? Okay, so there are amateur shows as well as pro shows. So I competed in a WBFF amateur show. That's how I got my pro card. And now I can compete in the pro level. This show was a ProAm. So all of the pro shows, including Worlds, are all ProAms. So you could actually compete as an amateur at one of the pro shows, even at Worlds if you wanted to. That's incredible. I had a friend, was she going to do her first amateur show? Because she lives out that way. Was going to do her first show at Worlds. Like that's how cool it is. You can go to any show. But to compete with the pros, like for a crown, for a title, you have to be a pro. You have to have your pro card to do that. And yes, I do coach for this kind of thing. I coached a competitor years ago before I even had credentials. And she got nationally qualified in the NPC. So I have coached NPC as well. So I can coach competition prep for any bodybuilding or WBFF. I actually haven't coached anybody through to a show in the WBFF. I've had competitors. I've also had them leave me. There's a lot of competition amongst coaches for clients. And so I don't fight for clients. Somebody wants to go somewhere else, peace out. But, and also I only do ketogenic, low carb prep. So I've also had people reach out, have been interested, but it's not a fit because I'm not going to do a typical competitor diet. But yes, for any of you ladies who are curious or would love to do something like this, we can definitely do it. And some of my ladies are doing kind of mock prep style with me as a one-on-one client. They don't want to get on stage, but we've done other things like photo shoots for them. I have a girl, shout out to Dima if she's watching the replay, who's prepping for her wedding, and she did a boudoir shoot. And now she's thinking about competing next. And I have another who has she's in her peak week for her photo shoot this week. So she's doing that Thursday. That's exciting. And then we're going to reverse her out just like it was a stage prep. Tina is definitely going to get on stage eventually. We're definitely going to get her on stage. She's in her long building season right now, which I recommend honestly, for most people. Most people, even if you think, like, unless you're an athlete, like in your past, you were an athlete, so you had a lot of muscle built, you're probably going to need a good off season, a good long off season before you could actually be competitive on a stage. So I always encourage that for most people. Unless you just want to do it as a bucket list, and you can always do that and then build from there, because I didn't have this kind of mass when I first started, but I wanted to see, what it was all like. What else do we have? I think there were some more questions. Nope, those are all good. Okay, so here's how they're doing, at least this show. I'm wondering if maybe now they'll start doing this for all the pro shows. But this is, like I said, the way they used to do Worlds, but they did it for Atlantic City this year, is they had registration night the first night. They did that Thursday. That's the night we all dress up. We get our registration information. You get your show number. You sit down and you have a meeting with all of the other contestants. They call it contestants. They don't call us athletes. In bodybuilding, you're going to go to an athletes meeting. It's going to be at the crack of dawn, the day of the show, and you're going to all show up in rollers and robes, hair and rollers, and you're going to be in robes. We are dressed to the nines, dressed to impress. It's the night before the show, usually, or a couple nights before the show. And it is decked out. You want to show up and show out. It's the first place you're going to be officially seen. And so you want to basically make an entrance. This is what makes it more pageanty, because this is the kind of thing they do in pageants. Then they do a media day the day after registration night. So Friday was media day, and they usually do a theme. Worlds this year was black and gold. It was so incredible. Like, the looks that I saw from Worlds were just amazing. I was wishing I'd come out, because I went out to Worlds for that show, but I didn't come early enough for media day, and I wish I had, because it looked like so much fun. My look actually for registration night for this show was similar to the looks that they did on media day at Worlds. But our media day was a holiday theme. So I was thrilled about that, because, like, I'm all about black and red. Like, pretty much all of my shows, my bikinis, my shoes, my gowns, like, it's almost always all either black or red or both. So I was loving it. I had a really adorable, super unique short, what do you call, bandage style dress, red dress, and I did a little Santa hat thing and fabulous Jennifer Lopez shoes. Oh my gosh. Like half of my shoes for most of this weekend were JLo, and they were all amazing. But those in particular, those are going to get a lot of play this year. So media day is really just you're going out, you're mingling, you're taking photos, you're in front of the step and repeat here and there, everywhere. They take pictures of all the categories. So they'll ask for all the bikini girls to get together, all the wellness girls to get together. They do, photos of all the queens, all the crowns, title holders. You can go up and do family photos. So it's just a blast. And it's really kind of like a reunion. Everybody's getting together, chit-chatting. It's a lot of fun. It's basically a cocktail party without the cocktails. So that was media day and Friday. And that was also the day that I did my Fit and Firm shoot. So that morning I got up really early to do hair and makeup. I had hair and makeup at 7, and then I had my shoot at 9. And then I went straight to media day after that at 11. And then by 1, we were done with everything. I loved my look so much. We went around the hotel and took more photos and videos. Bronson was such a trooper, taking pictures of me everywhere. I will probably do Christmas cards this year because I got some really great shots in that dress. And of course the hotel was also decorated for the holidays. So it was just a really fun time. Really made this show special. They usually do shoots with their official photographers for Fit and Firm magazine the 2 days leading up to the show and the day after. So you can book with one of their photographers and get published in their magazine. So that was kind of cool too, because I got my hair and makeup done by them Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I was like, oh, this is how celebrities live. You just show up and get done up and you don't have to do it yourself. It was pretty amazing. Oh yes, questions about costs. Oh wow, Tina says, Adam from Mind Pump told you to get on stage now. Wow, and start getting feedback. Okay, I mean, yeah, I feel you. I would still give it some time, but 2023, you could look at doing a show, look at a show that has a true novice division, and go ahead and get that feedback. There's nothing wrong with that. And you can pick a show that's kind of a smaller show that feels a little more comfortable to do. We can talk about that for sure. Oh yes, cost. Okay, so WBFF, this is another thing that makes them very different. Cost is a lot higher than what you will pay to compete in a bodybuilding show. A bodybuilding show, you're going to have a federation card you have to buy, which is something around like $100 a year, just to be a member of the federation. That allows you to register for shows. If you're an amateur, there will be a different price for that than a pro. WBFF doesn't actually have that. They don't have like a fee just to be a part of the federation, but their registration costs for the show are a lot higher. So you're not going to have that $100 up front or whatever that they charge up front to be a member of the federation, but the actual show registration for WBFF is like 5 times as much as it is in a bodybuilding show. So like a bodybuilding federation, it might be $100 to register for a show, plus some extra fees for tanning, or for if it's a natural show, you'll have fees for polygraph testing and stuff like that. WBFF is not a drug tested federation, FYI. So it's not a natural federation. You don't have those fees though, but it's like, and I don't know how much it is for amateurs now, but my registration was over $600 for one category. If I did a crossover, it would be a whole other registration. There's no like crossover fee that makes it less to do a second division. So if I do 2, let's say I do fitness 35 plus and fitness 40 plus, that's going to cost me over $1,000 just for registration for my next show. So it was over $600 just for registration. Tan was something around $200. A typical bodybuilding show would be around 100 and something for the tan. That's not cheap because it's a very different tan experience than what you're going to get at like a tanning bed. Even a spray tan. This is like a custom airbrush spray tan at the show, and then they do a second coat and they're there for touch-ups and all of that. I have to say too, this is another thing that makes WBFF different. The tanning experience in an NPC show, a typical bodybuilding show, you are going to be pretty orange and you are going to be wet and sticky. And you're going to have to sleep in it. And you're going to get up the next morning and you're going to get a glaze put on and you're going to be even more wet and even more sticky. And you're not going to want to touch anything or sit down and you have bikini bite on your bikini, holding your bikini to your butt. WBFF, it is incredible. They use this company. I met the guy who owns it. He was there at this show. They take it very seriously. It is a bronze. It is a beautiful hue. This is very light actually compared to what I looked like on stage, because I've showered a few times since then, but you get it a day or two before the show. Like I could have done it Thursday or Friday. I did it Thursday because I wanted to have the tan for registration night because I'm very, very pale at this time of year. But I could have done it on Friday if I wanted to. That first coat, you actually shower off that night and you wake up in the, first of all, you get this beautiful bronze tan and then they dry you. So it's kind of like the difference for those of you who've done spray tanning before. It's the difference between the old school Mystic tan, where you're like sticky and wet when you walk out, and the Versa, where they actually dry you. Totally different experience. So this one is more like the Versa. You stand there once you're done and they've done what they wanted to do. They hand you a thing and you're drying yourself off and you can stay and dry as long as you need to. You walk away, you're dry already. Like I went from the tan straight to hair and makeup, sat in hair and makeup for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, and it was fine. My tan was fine. It will come off a little bit, so you want to have dark clothing, loose, dark clothing to wear. I also bring dark black sheets and towels to the hotel, so I'm not ruining the sheets and the towels before I wash off the tan. But once you do the first shower off, and you're just showering off, like you're not scrubbing, you're not using soap, you're just like letting it rinse off, and you see a lot of it rinse off. Then you're good to go. The next day, like you can dress up, you can wear whatever, no big deal. And then the day of the show, they'll do touch-ups that morning. But once again, you're going to be dry. So that's the nicest, that's one of my favorite things about WBFF that's different, is it's so not an uncomfortable experience with the tan. Yeah, not orange. It is. It's such a beautiful tan. I did love it. So I did that Thursday and then I got into hair and makeup. Then we did registration night and then went to sleep, woke up, did the photo shoot, did media day, did our little photo shoot, went to see my bikini designer who comes to the show. She was like literally sewing like all night that night. And then she fixed my suit right then and there, got it ready for me the next day, double padding in the top because I have no tatas. So that was fantastic. And then picked up my suit in the morning, hair and makeup again, and then down to backstage. And this is the other thing. Most WBFF shows, amateur shows and pro shows, except for Worlds, you only compete once. It's an evening show and that's it. The only show that's different is Worlds for pros. You have to do a morning prejudging. This is more like typical bodybuilding shows. They all have prejudging in the morning and then finals at night. Prejudging is where really the judging happens. And then the night show is kind of for fun. WBFF, that's not usually the case, except for Worlds. And I've heard that the Australia shows run that way because we had some girls finally able to travel from Australia. And they were telling me that the Australia shows do actually have prejudging. But most of the shows here don't. So the cool thing about that is you're not waking up at 4 a.m. to get your hair and makeup done and then have that done all day long. And by the time you get to finals, you know, you got cracks in your makeup and stuff. Which I have to say, beauty services with WBFF is so impeccable. I could sleep in that makeup and wake up the next day. And like, I kind of wanted to do that. No joke. Like I wanted to, because I loved it so much. But literally at the end of the night, it was just as flawless as when they did it that morning. And it's amazing. But I always try to select later times on show day because I don't want to be up really early on show day. I want to be able to sleep in and really let my body relax. And I don't want to be in the makeup for too long. I want it to be like super fresh, as close to the show as possible. So I got one of the latest times for hair and makeup. And unfortunately, that means I missed the beginning of the meeting. So what happens is there is call time. Call time was 3:45 for contestants, and then the show started at 5:30. So what you do is when you get there, you get backstage. You get settled. And Atlantic City, it was at Resorts Casino Hotel. Their backstage is a bunch of small dressing rooms. And there was a ton of competitors at this show, a ton. It was a huge show. Like the show didn't get done until like midnight. Started at 5:30 and the show didn't get done until midnight. It was a massive show. So there were literally people everywhere. So if you don't get there early to get like a spot in the vanity, then you're going to be finding somewhere to put your stuff. Me and my girl, we found a hallway that had couch chairs, and we set up our stuff in the hallway and like laid out in couch chairs. It was so nice. So I was actually happy after all. At first I was a little stressed to be late and to have to find a spot and everything. But once I connected with her and we found our little spot, I was so chilling the whole rest of the time. But what they do is they'll do a contestants meeting where they'll come out and the stage manager will come out and show you how to walk. They have, depending on the stage and depending on the show, they have a few different walks. You might do an I walk where you're just walking up front, you do your routine, and you come right back to the back. Or you might do an L walk where you come up, you do your routine, you take a left, you go to your left, and then you come back to the back. Or in this case, and honestly, in most shows where the stage can handle it, you do a T walk. So you're going to come out from either stage left or stage right. You're going to be in the back of the stage. You're going to walk up. You're going to do your routine. And then you're going to take a right and go to the right side of the stage. You're going to do your little routine in this corner. Then you're going to walk across and you're going to do your routine in a third spot. So it's like a T. And then you come back to the back and everybody's in the back. And then they call you up for comparison rounds. And they're going to split the group up into different smaller groups so they can compare you against the other competitors. Now, something that happens in the typical bodybuilding show, in an NPC show, for example, there's going to be something called first call outs. If you get called to the front of the stage in the first group, that means you're placing. Everybody knows that. It's like an unspoken rule. It's like, oh, I got first call outs. WBFF does not do that. They switch it up. You don't know based on when you're called whether you're going to be in the top or whether you're not. And if, let's say, there's 12 competitors, they may call up 6 and 6. So that doesn't necessarily mean, who's going to be in the top 5. You don't know. In ours, those of us that were in the top 5, we were actually called up second. So we were not in the first call outs, but we ended up the top 5. But just knowing who else I was called up with and kind of knowing who I expected to get the crown, I already knew I was probably going to place based on who they were comparing me against. So if you can kind of size up your competition and then you know that you're being compared against who you think is the top, then there's a good chance that you're going to be in the top. But they try to switch it up and keep you guessing. They don't want to be predictable in that way. And sometimes, depending on how large the class is, they will move people around and want to see you next to people, but they don't do that as much as they do in like the NPC. I think they do it more in fitness, probably, maybe bikini, but wellness, they didn't need to. There wasn't that many people on stage. Like there wasn't 30 of us on stage. Like they didn't need to do that. Plus they're going to call you up in like groups of maybe 5 or 6, maybe 7. So there's not like a ton of people. Sometimes they'll switch it up too. They want to see different people next to different people. So you may get called up in different groups. So yeah, you're kind of like really guessing. Let's see, getting back to cost. Okay, so WBFF. Already registration is 5 times more than a typical bodybuilding show, but you don't have the federation fee and you don't have drug testing fees like a natural federation would have. In NPC and those kinds of competitions, you're going to have a crossover fee if you want to do more than one category. But in WBFF, you just have to pay for a whole new registration. So that makes it pricier. Some federations don't let you do a crossover, like they don't let you do bikini and wellness, or wellness and fitness, or figure, or whatever. But they will let you do different age categories, or like in NPC, they have like novice, which means you've never won a show. You've never won top 3 or first place. I can't remember what the requirements are for that. WBFF does not have a novice. You're either an amateur or you're a pro. In the amateur shows, you actually compete by height. So you have height classes. You're going to be in class A or class B. You're going to be in short or tall. In the pros, there's no height classes. It's just all the pros compared to each other, which sometimes can be tough for a short girl, I'll tell you. Not to say that shorties haven't won, because we got shorties and crowns for sure. Okay, so you have show registration. You have tan, you have hair and makeup. Tan, a couple $100. Hair and makeup, $350 for show day, $350 for any other time you want hair and makeup. So if you're doing it for Reg Night, if you're doing it for media day, we're talking $1,000 at this point, 3 times. You have your gown round or theme wear, which can really set you back, especially if you're getting it custom made. If you get your bikini custom made. My first 3 shows, my first 3 bikinis, I have 3 bikinis. I've done 2 shows before this one. I have 4 bikinis. My first 3 bikinis, I bought 2 of them off other competitors, and I bought 1 of them off the rack from a designer bikini company. They do have like off the rack you can buy. Or rent. I actually rented that one in 2020 and then loved it so much I decided to keep it, and I just paid the rest of it. But that made it a lot more affordable than if I had somebody custom design one for my body. This is the first year I've done that. That can run you anywhere from, let's say, $300 to thousands of dollars, depending on which designer you work with and how much what you want on it. I'll share, mine was around $750 for the custom designed bikini. In the past, I've spent $250 on a bikini secondhand. So very different based on how you do that. There are groups on Facebook of competitors that share, rent, sell bikinis. I will probably rent or sell my old bikinis at this point, the ones I haven't worn yet. And then, so the bikini, the gown, the theme wear, all can be very pricey depending on how crazy you want to go. And then, of course, you have your registration night look and your media day look. You know, some of these ladies are very, very blessed, and they work with custom designers for everything. And that's freaking incredible. Like, the other thing that I really enjoyed about this show was looking at all of the other fashions, like looking at what everybody was wearing on media day and registration night, and just soaking it all in. It was like being at a fashion show. It was a lot of fun. And then the same thing with the bikinis. Everybody's so different. Another thing that I love about WBFF is that the bodies are so different. You can have 2 different women with 2 completely different bodies on stage next to each other. You know, you don't know like who could win. Whereas a bodybuilding federation or a bodybuilding show, everybody's going to look pretty much exactly the same physique wise. So it's a beautiful representation of like just women in all different shapes and sizes. There are also men's divisions in WBFF. There's fitness model and muscle model. So once again, everything is model. All of the divisions are titled for models. It's Diva Wellness Model, Diva Fitness Model, Diva Bikini Model. It's men's fitness model, men's muscle model. And the men do a round in briefs, and then they do a round in a suit. And it is really cool to see the men's fashions as well. So yeah, that's pretty much the whole show in a nutshell. You go out in your bikini. That's where you're mainly judged off of, in your bikini round. And then the gown round is also where they do the awards. So it's almost like you're just coming out in the gown to show yourself and then be presented your award. So you get presented the awards in the gowns. For fitness and figure, they get presented the awards in their theme wear, which can be kind of tricky sometimes because a lot of the time they have these big headpieces and then they have to crown someone who has this big headpiece, so they have to take the headpiece off. It's always kind of interesting to watch that. And somebody was asking me backstage actually, and so I'll share this too. They were like, well, wait a minute, so we're not even really being judged on our evening gown round? Like, what's the point? Like, can you, like, does it make a difference? And I was like, well, actually it does make a difference, because I have heard this, that you may not win the show based on your evening gown round and how you present yourself, but you can lose in that round. If you do not present yourself well, they may change their decision about who they want to give that title to if they're like, nope, this person is not going to be able to represent us the way we would want. So it still matters. It still matters a lot, and things can change based on the gown round. So it's not just throw something on and go out there. Kind of like ties in together the whole package. Any other questions or comments about the show or about competing in general? I'm going to scroll back up and make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay, I did not. And I've kept you over time because, of course, I love talking about this topic. I will be sharing on my YouTube a peak week recap. I meant to film that before the show, and I never got a chance because things were crazy during peak week. So I'm going to be coming out with a peak week recap, sharing our entire protocol for peak week, how we handled it, how it all came together. And then I'm going to do a show recap on my YouTube as well that is a little more organized and just kind of specifically talking about the events and how it all went. And I'll include a lot of the content I got over the weekend in that wrap up. So you'll be able to see the photos and the videos and just kind of how the whole energy of the event felt on that episode. So of course I will share those links when they drop. And I think at this point, I'm going to share another poll about future masterclass topics, because we're in December and we only have what, 4 more weeks before the end of this year, and then we will be in the new year. Another thing to look forward to this week is that I'm going to do a New Year's challenge. I have some ideas of what I think I want to include in it, but I'm not 100% on all of them. So I'm going to drop a poll for what you would like to see in the challenge. I'll probably drop that tomorrow, try to get some feedback, and then I will announce what the challenge looks like, the cost to participate. Spoiler alert, if you are a private client of mine, you will get entered into the challenge for free. So yeah, I knew Tiffany would be excited about that. So that's to come. That's going to be the most exciting next thing. And then otherwise, I just hope you all are having a wonderful December so far. Welcome to December. We have less than 30 days left, and then it's a new year. And we are stepping into everything we want for ourselves in 2023. So that will be very much incorporated into whatever this challenge ends up being. So I'll see y'all in the group. In the meantime, as usual, share away anything going on in your world, good, bad, indifferent, anything you need support with, or just wins you want to share, to your own horn. You're always welcome to do that in the group. And I will see you next week live for our next masterclass. Good night, ladies. Thanks for being with me. It's so much better doing this looking at faces.